Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Racha, Kadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of the Great Millstone. Peace and blessing salutations as always, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Barakatham, to you sincere Akim, noising this gospel abroad, keeping the faith, diligence, and testimony of our Lord Yahweh Shai, occupying in the prophecies until our Lord come, and to the few sincere Aquath that listen and learn as well. To you I say Shalom. So back in the news, this will be another installment of News and Prophecy, going into world events, showing you that indeed the words of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, are faithful and true, and that everything we're witnessing in today's time directly correlates back to what was written of aforetime via the prophets. So you have the prophets on the scene in today's time to give you the understanding of what is happening in this earth, so that ultimately your faith can be built up and you can go into this time of trial and tribulation with a good spirit, because the world, they're already losing their faith. They're crashing out, bugging out. They don't have any understanding. All right, but us that have been called into this most secret tabernacle of the Lord, we have comfort through what is written and the understanding thereof. And from the elders and apostles on down, we've been talking about how things are going to turn up going into the Passover, and definitely after the Passover, things are going to turn up even more. You see? So there's all kind of escalation happening. It's a lot going on as usual, the theme of the times, but when you go here, right, to the book of Jeremiah 16th chapter, all right, because when we commemorate the Passover, that's a time where we remember our deliverance from the land of ancient Egypt, Ryan, or Matazarium, to where when you go into the account, when the Lord, was about to destroy the firstborn of the Egyptians, he commanded us to put the blood of the lamb over our doorposts, so that ultimately we would not be taken in that judgment. And that was really symbolic, as a covering to what our Lord Yahweh Shai, would come to do, through the shedding of his blood. And of course, through his blood, we have a covering, all right, through the Most High, to which going into these, perilous times, the Lord will be with us, through the blood of our Lord Yahweh Shai, whom the world calls Christ. So this here is the book of Jeremiah 16 and 14. Yahweh will restore them. Restore who? The Israelites, Yasha'Allah. Jeremiah 16 and 14. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. Because our deliverance out of Egypt, that was a great deliverance. The Lord, because you think about what happened before we left Egypt, the Lord brought about many plagues on that land, to where it completely decimated the Egyptians. And, after that, they never became a prominent superpower in the earth ever again. All right, that's how bad that the Lord messed them Egyptians up. And it's going to be the same thing coming into these times now with America, Babylon, the great Esau. The Lord is going to completely dismantle and destroy this current system as well. All right. But it says here in verse 15, but the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, which would be referring to America, all right, otherwise known as Babylon the Great. Okay, this is the land of the north, all right, because really when you go into biblical prophecy, Babylon is going to be the main deliverance and the main destruction, all right, to where the Israelites are going to be delivered from, mainly the elect, all right, and from all the lands whither he had driven them, because it was prophesied as well that we would be scattered to what? The four corners of the earth. So our people can be found amongst all nations, you see, and the Lord is going to deliver us from all those nations. And I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. Okay, pursuing back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the children of the promise. Okay, so the Lord is going to deliver us, all right, from out of these calamities that we see coming upon the earth. All these things were prophesied, all these things were written before time. And for you sincere believers, this should be a faith boost, seeing these things in the earth, to where, you shouldn't be anxious, you shouldn't be afraid, you shouldn't be, doubtful. The things we see happening now should be a faith booster to you. All right. And ultimately, you should be seeking the Lord more in this time. But yes, as the scriptures say, we shall be delivered from the land of the north. All right. Because our deliverance from this captivity is going to be even greater than what it was in ancient Egypt. Right. Because when you really think about what we're going to be delivered from, all right. Yeah, the Egyptians, they put hell on us, they were afflicting us, but, there was no nuclear, destruction that we were saved from in that time. Okay, and in this time we coming into now, we're going to be saved from nuclear Armageddon. Okay, which, is going to completely destroy, this current system. All right. So, even when you pursue to, Revelation, the 19th chapter, okay, because the testimony of our Lord Yahweh Shai is that of the spirit of prophecy, okay, which we're, diligently looking forward to in this time. Revelation 19 and verse 10. And I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said unto me, See thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. Worship Yahweh, for the testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. Okay, so the very things that we're testifying of, all right, these are the things that testify of the coming of our Lord. Okay, that substantiate the scriptures as right and exact. All right, because you can't go into no other philosophy or religion on the earth and directly plug it into what is going on now. All right, everybody else outside of the hopefully elective Yahweh Bashmi Shai are going to be confounded. And that's why brothers, the elder Manata Zakba, he's going into the fact that the world is watching the Israelites. Saying you even got these podcast gurus and hey, you name it. They're taking the talking points of the Israelites and they're incorporating it into their talking points. Okay, they don't give the credit, but hey, it is what it is. The point is, we know, where they got these talking points from. You got all these Christians now wanting to go into the Bible, wanting to go into prophecy, when they never went into prophecy. Okay, prior to the Israelites coming on the scene. So the Israelites have changed the spiritual direction on this earth. Okay, to now people are actually starting to take the Bible more seriously and actually starting to get into it. All right. Revelation 19 and 10 in the NLT. Then I fell down at his feet to worship him, but he said, No, don't worship me. I am a servant of Yahweh. Okay, this is the angel. Okay, just like you and your brothers and sisters who testify about their faith in Yahweh Shai. Worship only Yahweh, for the essence of prophecy is to give a clear witness of Yahweh Shai. Okay, so the essence of prophecy is to give a clear witness of Yahweh Shai. And what did Yahweh Shai testify of? All right, he condemned the world. He told you that in the last days there would be wars and rumors of wars, famines, pestilences, mass death, mass judgment. And all these things we see now are confirming what our Lord said. So this is the testimony that we hold, man. So we have nothing to be ashamed of. We have nothing to shy away from, but we are bold in what the scriptures say and what we believe, because we have a more sure word of prophecy as it is written. Okay, last one, and we'll get into the video. Matthew 24. All right, to reference our Lord Yahweh Shai. This is red letter. This is the book of Matthew 24 and verse 14. And it says, And the good news about the kingdom will be preached throughout the whole world, so that all nations will hear it, and then the end will come. All right. Now, this right here shows you that the true gospel is not Christianity, because Christianity has been around the earth for hundreds of years. All right. And until the Israelites came on the scene, all right, in the late 60s to now, this is when things have really started to turn up, man. Okay. So much so to the point where now we're at the end, you know, where we're on the cusp of the MOTB being mandated. You know, we're already in World War III. Famine is being prepared. New diseases are coming. All these things we'll tap into, man. But just showing you, okay, the testimony of the Israelites. Okay, this gospel's been preached all around the world, man, and also showing you that the elect have just about been sealed. Okay, because this destruction is about to come imminently, man. So that shows you that who the Lord wanted to wake up, they've woken up already. And of course, the Israelites, we're the talk of the town, okay, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So everybody knows at this point. Everybody knows who the true Israelites are. They know that it's not those rats that are over there in the land currently today. You know what I'm saying? But that it is the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. Okay. Matthew 24:14 in the KJV, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. All right, so ain't nobody gonna have an excuse to say I didn't know. See, and then shall the end come. All right, so this is where we at. We're at the end. So this video here from Redacted: Trump just bet his presidency. U.S. Marines just landed ready to invade Iran. And we've been going into this, for the past few days when they announced that they were going to send Marines, and now they sending additional support troops over there to that region. So things are super hot in Western Asia right now, man. Okay, and again, coming into the Passover, this is what you have going on. You see? So yeah, we'll check out Redacted, get a few points out of this, and Lord willing, this lesson is edifying.
This is a global economic artery. Colonel Dan Davis on his show on Saturday made the point that this might have been the strategy all along. You degrade America's missile stockpiles, drag us deeper into Iran, and then open another front through Yemen while the U.S. forces are already stretched incredibly thin.
10,000, maybe 12 or 13,000 by now, missile strikes has only netted you about 1/3 of what they had. And so that means that their ability to sustain is likely going to continue on for the foreseeable future. And that gives them confidence. And with the Houthis joining, that gives them more confidence. Kataib Hezbollah in Lebanon, all of this stuff gives them more and more confidence.
Now look at what the Pentagon is doing. The USS Tripoli has arrived, carrying about 3,500 soldiers. The total U.S. forces in the region now well over 50,000, the biggest American military posture in the Middle East in more than 20 years. And this comes after Iran hit Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia on Friday, injuring at least 15 troops there. Iranian sources saying that more than 500 Americans have been wounded or killed so far. So when they tell you this is under control, that America has already won this war, no, it's not under control.
Yeah, we've been bringing this out, man, because, since the very beginning, week one, all right, when Iran started hitting those U.S. bases in that region, they were coming out with numbers of only 13 U.S. soldiers have been killed and this and that, which, come on now. All them bases they got hit and only 13 U.S. personnel died, that's complete BS, all right? So now the true numbers are coming out, and as we've been telling you, man, it's in the hundreds, okay? Likely now damn near, or, more than likely over 1,000 now, but, these things are going to come out later on. All right, so everybody knows that America is getting smashed in this war. Okay, and we're in a month now, and it's already having dire repercussions for the world global economy. And now, they're sending in troops to so-call themselves, trying to invade Iran, which that's nothing more than a suicide mission. All right, because this invasion of Iran is not going to work. You see, but nonetheless, the Lord is putting a battery in these nations back to forward themselves into this war. because ultimately this is the war to end all wars. You know what I'm saying? This is all going according to prophecy. And the pride of Babylon is not going to allow them to back out of this conflict. See, they're going to have to, you know what I'm saying, keep pushing the envelope until ultimately, you know, they until they get flushed out, you know, to make it quite simple. But you know, the Lord, he's the ultimate chess player. You know, he's controlling all the pieces on the board. And Babylon, Esau is no different. You know what I'm saying? But when they go to invade Iran, there's there's going to be mass casualties, man. Okay, before they even step foot on the ground, it's going to be mass casualties. So this is where we at, man. Okay, things are, you know, as Clayton Moore said, you know, things are not under control. As Trump is trying to tell you, things are out of control and not in the favor of America.
Bald-faced lie. You don't rush in more Marines, more paratroopers, more ships, more contingency special forces, like the 82nd Airborne Division, because you're calmly wrapping things up. We're all done over there. You do that because you know this war is about to get a whole lot worse. What's going to happen in these next 8 days? By the way, here's the part that no one on like Fox or CNN wants to really touch, and that is China. Because what we are hearing from our sources in the region is absolutely explosive. They are telling us China is not just quietly cheering Iran on from the sidelines, they're helping Iran build a battlefield nervous system right now. China has basically sent massive amounts of hardware right before the war started. We're talking portable anti-stealth radar that we've learned about, surface-to-air systems, the Baidu satellite support systems, signals intelligence systems, terrain mapping, cyber architecture, real-time tracking of U.S. naval movement. Our sources say Beijing is using this war as a live-fire intelligence laboratory against America's most advanced systems, watching everything we do. So is taking Taiwan next? What will we do? They're watching everything that we have. Now, publicly, this is where U.S. officials actually admitting that China's top chip makers are supplying technology to Iran's military-industrial complex. Reuters also reported last month that Iran was nearing a deal with China for anti-ship cruise missiles. So even on the public record, China's fingerprints are all over this. China learning our systems in real time, while Iran does the bleeding, absorbing all of these.
Yeah, so you see what's going on here is that not only China but Russia as well. You know, they're using this war to you know, prepare themselves for, you know, like Clayton said, you know, they're pretty much gathering intelligence, you know, from Iran in this war against America, so that when they do jump in, they'll pretty much have America all figured out. And see, this is modern warfare. Okay, this is not the old conventional warfare where, you know, you just sent in troops and you know that was the end all be all. No. Okay, we're in a scenario now to where this is going to be the most deadly war that there's ever been. All right, and now you also have the nuclear element as well. That's going to, you know, exponentially increase the death toll. All right? So this is why, you know, the scriptures go into it. This computer is tripping, man. You know, but hopefully, you know, we still good. All right. When you get 2nd Ezra chapter 16. Okay, it says here, 2nd Ezra 16 in verse 18, the beginning of sorrows. Okay, it echoes the same thing in Matthew the 24th chapter. And great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death. Okay, notice how it says famine and great death. All right, we're in a season to where mass judgment is enveloping the earth. Great death, all right, is enveloping the earth. The beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. Okay, these things are being sent for judgment to the wicked. But for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. So meanwhile these things are going on, you still got people out here talking about where they gonna go for vacation, the party that they gonna throw next week, you know what I'm saying, and all this other folly that really don't mean nothing in the grand scheme of things, still trying to enjoy themselves, travel and do all this other BS. They're, you know what I'm saying, they're not being mindful of the scourges, they're not being mindful of the plagues. And this is why when these things come, it's gonna catch these people off guard, man, and it's gonna bug them out, because why? They have not prepared themselves spiritually for what is coming. Okay? Great evils are coming on this earth, man. And everybody that is in the sphere of truth is pretty much saying the same thing. Okay? Pretty much, everybody is echoing the sentiment of the prophets. Okay? Just in their own, worldly, world friendly version, man. But we all saying the same thing. So that should tell you right there that there is no peace coming. There is no normalcy. Things are only getting worse.
These blows. And the reason our F-35s are being hit, one of them downed, at least the one we know about, by Iran, is because of China's targeting. We are learning. So Iran wasn't doing this on their own. It's all China. Remember, these aircraft, by the way, were supposed to be unhittable. That's why we spent.
He trotted through the twilight woods. His thick, russet tail, a mark of his prime, swung,
tens of billions of dollars on this F-35 program. They're unhittable. Okay. Not anymore. And maybe that helps explain the next humiliation in all of this. America and Israeli intelligence appear to have badly underestimated Iran's underground missile cities, as they're being called. One major reason the United States still can't confidently assess Iran's missile losses is because so much of that arsenal is buried in underground tunnels and bunkers, sophisticated bunkers and tunnels before the war even started. Dispersed stockpiles. This is why these missiles keep flying. This is why Iran can keep absorbing these strikes and still fire back. You can't bomb what you can't see and what you don't know about. And that's what an intelligence failure looks like in real time. And remember what Colonel McGregor and Colonel Davis told us on Thursday on our show. We did a whole military panel about this. Iran has not even used what he says are the most advanced hypersonic systems yet.
Well, my impression is that they have a large number of hypersonic missiles they have yet to fire. That's very.
You hear that? So, hey, look, man, as we've been telling you, Iran is just getting started. Iran ain't even pulled out the big guns yet. They pretty much just letting the small hats have the old stuff that they got. But the hypersonics and the real like grimy stuff that they got, they ain't even let that fly yet, man. And America doesn't even know the full capacity that Iran has in terms of missiles, because pretty much their whole military is underground, very sophisticated. So all this talk from Trump about we're winning the war and it's almost over and this and that, that's all BS, man. Because you can hear what he's saying, but look at what he's doing. All right? If the war is won and it's almost over and all this big talk that he's been talking, why are you sending more troops to that region? Why, you know what I'm saying? Why are you calling on your allies to get into this war? Why are you calling for help if you just destroying Iran as you claim? Because it's all BS. All right? And these devils know that they ain't got nothing for Iran, man. All right, like we say, Esau, he's moving on pride. Okay, he's moving off the victory he took over Venezuela, which Venezuela was no match for America. Okay, so that's not nothing to thump your chest about. See, when Esau goes up against a real formidable enemy that he can't just walk on like that, this is when he runs into problems. Okay, and especially because he said, Trump said at first, oh, this war is only going to last, a few days or 2 weeks maximum. Okay, we're going to go in there, do regime change, and we're going to get out. This war is going on a month, and you still have not had regime change. So you still have not accomplished your goal that you set out to achieve, Esau. And guess what? It's not going to happen. Okay, because really all these devils have done is jump off a world war. Okay, which is going to collapse Esau's kingdom. You see? So now I want to get let me see here. Yeah, let's get this video. Okay. The next Hormuz, because right now we know that the Strait of Hormuz is being blocked off to the West and its allies. Russia and Chinese vessels are still being allowed to get through. You know, BRICS nations vessels, but everybody else is being cut, man. Okay, so now with Yemen and the Houthis, now you have the Suez Canal, okay, which is another very important choke point for oil and goods reaching the West. You know, now this is about to be cut off. So you have the Strait of Hormuz and also the Suez Canal. All right, you have oil refineries being blown up in America. You see what I'm saying? So we know that we're on the verge of an energy crisis, and we'll get into that in this lesson as well. But we're on the verge of a major global energy economic crisis, man. Okay, so the Lord is using this war to really break this world down. All right, so the next four moves, let's check it out.
Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi forces have entered the wider regional conflict, launching missiles and declaring they are fully prepared to shut down the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. The strait lies at the southern entrance of the Red Sea. It forms the natural gateway between the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea waters, separating Yemen on the Arabian Peninsula from Djibouti and Eritrea on the Horn of Africa. This precise location turns it into one of the planet's busiest maritime passages. The strait stretches roughly 50 kilometers from end to end. Its narrowest point measures only about 26 kilometers wide, spanning about 22 kilometers where it reaches depths safe for massive vessels. Yemen's Perim Island sits right in the middle of the waterway and splits the strait into two distinct channels. The eastern channel runs narrow and shallow at just 3 kilometers wide, so large oil tankers avoid that route entirely. The western channel offers the main path for international shipping. The exact geographical features that make the Bab el-Mandeb so crucial also make it highly vulnerable. Because the western channel, the primary artery for heavy tankers, is narrow and predictable, ships are forced into tight lanes with little room for evasive maneuvers. Overlooking this exact bottleneck is Yemen's western coast, territory controlled by the Houthis. Enforcing a closure here does not require a physical barrier. The Houthis can paralyze the strait using a highly specific Iranian-supplied arsenal. Their maritime toolkit includes Asef and Tenkil anti-ship ballistic missiles, Al-Mandeb cruise missiles, and Samad-3 attack drones. Combined with explosive-laden unmanned surface vehicles, these agile, radar-evading weapons can strike any vessel across the 26-kilometer choke point in minutes. By simply elevating the threat level and launching intermittent attacks, the Houthis can effectively create a virtual blockade. What makes this strait important is the fact that the Bab el-Mandeb provides the only southern entry point to the Suez Canal. No ship from the Indian Ocean or the Gulf can reach the canal without crossing here first. The sheer volume of wealth and energy tied to the Suez Canal makes this threat an absolute economic nightmare.
You see that? So the Suez Canal, okay, check it out. 12% global maritime trade, 30% global container traffic, 1 trillion plus in annual goods and movement, man. So the Suez Canal, a crucial choke point for world trade via the Houthis in Yemen, is now about to be cut off along with the Strait of Hormuz. And we already seeing that countries like Australia, okay, many EU nations, all right, as well as in America soon, okay, are going to go into energy lockdowns, okay, because there's not going to be any energy moving through these channels, all right. So the Lord, all right, this down, dollars not going to be moving, man. Dollars are not going to be moving overseas. All right, these nations are already rejecting the dollar. So when those dollars start to come back home, which is going to happen very soon, you know what I'm saying? Because right here in America, Babylon the Great, we're on the brink of an economic collapse. Okay, this thing can really go down any day now. They talking about cyber attacks. You know, the banks are going to fail. Blackouts are happening. All right, so the point is, when those dollars come back home and there's no demand for it overseas, that's going to cause what? Hyperinflation. Okay, so when you read Revelation 6 and 6, we've been bringing this out a lot recently because, you know, again, this is the time that we in. Give us a second to load up. Because, yeah, Revelation 6 and 6, you know, basically goes into, you know, hyperinflation. Okay, which, you know, things are already inflated now. You know, the price of diesel is super high, you know, $6 now on average, I believe. So truckers are taking a major hit. All right. Truckers are taking a major hit. And guess what? The truckers, they're going to have to pass on the price from the increase of fuel onto the consumer. Also, we know that the farmers, you know, they're being hit heavy as well because they got to pay for diesel too. Damn, this thing taking forever, man. But yeah, the farmers, you know, they're paying for diesel, you know. Slovakia, you know, but like I said, the farmers, you know, they got to pay for diesel. You know, they got to pass that cost down. All right. Their crops are failing. Revelation 6 and 6. And I heard a voice in the midst of the fourth beast say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou heard not the oil and the wine. All right. So when it says a measure of wheat for a penny that, you know, that goes into a day's wages. All right. So you make $300 a day. All right. Giving that for a very small amount of food that can barely sustain you. All right. That's what this is saying. Hyperinflation. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be giving a lot of money to get very little, which, hey, we already see it happening now. All right. You pay, $200 in groceries. You know what I'm saying? You'll be lucky to walk out the store with 2 bags. Okay. Like that's just the price of, you know, how things are going, man. But it's going to get much worse. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Okay. So this war, okay, the Lord is doing this, man, to really bring the pain. All right. Because the Lord has to shut down this current financial system. And also this is what they need to bring in the MOTB. All right. Because once the hyperinflation hit and more layoffs happen and people become desperate, the price of gas goes up to where nobody can afford to travel or do anything. They're going to have to bring about a solution. Okay, meanwhile, they got the robots and the AI taking over. So they're going to have to bring about that UBI, that universal basic income, to solve that issue. All right, they're going to have to reset the system and bring it back to where you're going to have to take it underneath the skin in order to operate in this society. Okay, so these things are being fulfilled.
Under normal circumstances, the canal handles roughly 12% of all global maritime trade and a staggering 30% of the world's container traffic, facilitating the movement of over $1 trillion in goods annually. On the energy front, an estimated 4.9 to 7.5 million barrels of crude oil and petroleum products transit the canal every single day.
See? So that's a lot of oil right there. And this is daily. You have this much oil and energy moving through this region every day. Now this is being cut off. So you see how important, all right, that these straits are, that these canals are to the global economy. Now they're being cut off. due to this war. All right, so hey, your man DJT is making it happen. All right, Yahweh Bashmel Shai is making it happen. See, let's get into this as well right here. Okay, Trump has officially tanked the economy.
Recession in any given 12-month span is just around 20%. Okay, that is not all, but it's also so frustrating because they're saying, oh, maybe we're about to have a recession. People are already struggling for all intents and purposes. We're in a recession right now. The only reason why we're not technically is because of the stock market. It's all a big Ponzi scheme. The American people cannot afford things as it is, and the jobs are not good. And speaking of jobs, the job market has been down bad since the beginning of 2026 and arguably even before that. But with the uncertainty surrounding the Iran war on top of everything else, things are only getting worse now. According to the most recent data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, you can take a look here, employers are hiring at their lowest rates since 2013, and that is not including during the pandemic. Also,
yeah, and that's a fact, because we've gone into it that for the month of February, there was zero job growth. Okay, no jobs were created in the month of February in America. And I'm pretty sure that it's even worse for March. All right, because the war kicked off the beginning of this month, man. So since this war has kicked off, there's been more layoffs. You know what I'm saying? All right, so hey, the Lord is bringing the pain, but these people ain't seen nothing yet. It's only the beginning of sorrows.
employers are getting laid off, or at a historically low, their employers are laying off workers. That's what it is, at a historically low rate. You can see it there. And on top of all of that, monthly job growth has slowed all the way down. So it's a depressing outlook on things. These charts are not fun to look at. In summary, people are not quitting their jobs. They're not getting laid off. Nobody is getting hired, and no new jobs are being created, all likely because nobody knows what the future holds. And it's very difficult for people to plan a life when there's no stability anywhere, right?
Yeah, and that's the point. There's no stability. All right, there's no positive outlook for Babylonians anymore. Okay, and when you compare it, all right, to really like the early 2000s and prior. All right, really prior to the Great Recession of 07, 08, man, people had a positive outlook for America, that things were bright. This is the place where you come to set yourself up, set your children up, create a soft landing for them, the land of opportunity, right? Well, this ain't it no more, okay? And let's get it, Isaiah 19, right? There's going to be no more work for Egypt, man. Okay, the Lord is drying up the work in this place. And in this society, people derive their value from having a job, from being able to work. You know what I'm saying? So when you come into a situation where ain't nobody working, it's like, shit, what are we supposed to do? All right, and that's when you're going to see wickedness, all right, go to the next level, man, because it's going to be too many idle minds and hands out here. Okay. Isaiah 19, probably passed it. Yep, Isaiah 19 and 14. The Lord hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err. Okay, America, Babylon the Great. This is modern day spiritual Egypt, spiritual Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, among many other names, or code names in the scriptures. Right, in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit, neither shall there be any work for Egypt which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. In that day shall Egypt be like unto women, and it shall be afraid and fear because of the shaking of the land, Salaki, because of the shaking of the hand of the Lord of hosts, which he shaketh over, which is that judgment, man. Okay, which is that rough word that's destroying this place. All right, when you get what is that? Isaiah, I want to say Isaiah 24. Let's see real quick. I believe it is Isaiah 24. Judgment on the earth. Okay, yep, here we go. Get straight to the point. Isaiah 24 and 6. Therefore hath the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry hearted do sigh. So now, because Babylon used to be party city, right? Saying everybody come here, you can do all your wickedness, you can, live it up, buy as many bottles as you want, travel as much as you want, just, live it up, man. Okay, but that's dead now. Because ain't nobody got no money, ain't nobody working. Ain't nothing going on. Everything is shutting down. Okay, that's why it says the vine languisheth, all the merry hearted do sigh. The mirth of tabrets ceases. The noise of them that rejoice endeth. Yeah, all the clubs, all the venues that used to be popping, you know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing going on no more. All right? People not even in the mood to go out and do that stuff because it's like it ain't hitting the same, man. The joy of the harp ceases. They shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. Yeah, ain't nothing going to take the pain away. All right, it's people out here hitting the bottle hard, and it still ain't giving them no comfort. You see? The city of confusion is broken down, which is America, Babylon the Great. Okay, Babal means confusion. Every house is shut up, that no man may come in. There is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. Okay? The happiness, the joy, it's all gone. All you have now is mourning. Okay? And the city is left desolation, and the gate is smitten with destruction. All right? So, hey, this place is through. And see, the prophets are here to tell you that this place is through, man. So, as time goes on, the very things that you see happening, because again, this is only the beginning, but the very things you see happening, taking place now, is only going to increase on the earth to the point where people are no longer going to be able to bear it. And this is what these elites want, so that they can bring about the NWO. Okay, they want to bring people to a breaking point to where they literally beg for the solution that the devil has to offer. Okay, so now, matter of fact, yeah, Iran vows to set U.S. troops on fire if Trump launches ground invasion. All right, so Iran is like, look, you come over here, we got something for your ass, man. Our missiles are in place, warned Iran's parliamentary speaker amid reports U.S. troops are preparing for a ground invasion. And see, this is why they're going to have to do a draft, because these soldiers that they sending over there to fight, they all about to get slaughtered. All right? I'll be surprised. This nigga right here, man. All right? This nigga is gone. All right? All these AI videos, man. These deep fakes. This nigga is out of here. But anyway, all of these troops they about to send in there, they all about to get knocked off. All right? In the worst way possible. So that's why, once that the troops they send over there die out, they, what I'm saying, they're gonna have to expand the draft. Okay, which that's why they raised the age of enlistment to 42 now. All right, that's the max age. So from 18 to 42, you're eligible to go into the armed forces now. Iran says it is ready and waiting for U.S. troops to launch a ground invasion and threaten to set fire to Donald Trump's forces if they enter the Islamic Republic's territory. Speaker of Iran's parliament, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, said Tehran is waiting for the arrival of American troops on the ground to set them on fire. In a published message broadcast on Iranian state media, including the official IRNA news agency on Sunday. It follows overnight reports that the Pentagon is awaiting President Trump's approval for ground operations in Iran, according to the Washington Post. So them soldiers are through. And see, Esau, he don't give a damn because, that's a sacrifice for him. And, that in his mind doesn't make him, look weak. All right, so Esau don't give a damn. All right, all them soldiers is being sent over there. They're nothing more than pawns being sent in to the meat grinder. Okay, that's all it is. And if you go over there to that region to fight in this war, you ain't coming back. And if you somehow do survive through all the carnage and hell that's gonna go down over there, then you gonna fight against Yahweh Shai. All right. So either way, going over there, it's not gonna turn out well. All right, for anyone deployed. All right. Get this real quick as well. One UN peacekeeper is dead, and another is fighting for their life after base in Lebanon is attacked. Right, so you got all kind of death happening over there. You know what I mean? It comes after Iran threatened to rain fire on American ground troops as more U.S. Marines arrived in the Middle East on the warship USS Tripoli today. Iranian outlets today published a message from Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf marking 30 days since the start of the war. In the message, Ghalibaf said the enemy signals negotiation in public, while in secret it plots a ground attack. Earlier, Ghalibaf claimed Trump is preparing for an attack in secret, despite speaking of negotiations in public, which, Iran has denied that such negotiations have ever occurred. He added that Donald Trump's 15-point list is setting out the wishes of the U.S. in pursuing what it failed to achieve in the war. All right, so look, man, Esau is cooked. All right, this nigga ain't got no strategy left, man. I mean, he's basically going in head first to his own destruction. All right, and it don't even realize it. Okay, meanwhile as well, check this out. This is from the Hill. All right, because now Iran is, they letting Europe know, you want to stand with America, hey. America got some cushion because they're overseas, they're way across the water. But Europe, now, Iran is letting it be known that Europe is in the line of fire. Okay? So this right here, among everything else that's going on, Trump, news coming out as well that he's going to pull the munitions that were supposed to go to Ukraine to help their European allies, that he's going to pull those munitions and send them to Iran to use for this Iranian war. Okay, so look, we've been going into a man that NATO is about to fall apart. Okay, that's the bottom line. NATO is about to fall apart, and America is about to be isolated along with the small hats. Okay, because now with this threat from Iran is letting it be known like, yo, you want to continue to follow America into this war, then you going to get burnt up with fire too. All right. And we'll show you what this is going to lead to, okay? Again, this is all prophetic. All right, Iran's firing of 2 missiles toward the joint U.S.-UK base in the Indian Ocean is putting Europe on notice that Tehran appears able to levy attacks previously considered beyond its reach, okay? So Europe now knows that the shit, Iran can hit us now too. All right, which before they didn't think that Iran had that type of range, but now they know. All right. In the March 20 incident, one intermediate range ballistic missile fell into the water and the other was shot at. Still, while unsuccessful, it attests to a long-held belief by national security officials that Iran's agreement to the self-imposed range ceiling of 1,240 miles on its missiles is a political, not a technical cap, and that Tehran could pose a danger far beyond its borders. You see that? So they're now realizing this now. And we see that Europe is pretty much now getting away from the influence of America, Babylon, and they starting to worry about themselves because now their whole setup is in danger. Okay, which, America's trying to drag them into this war. They don't want no parts. And this is why. Analysts said it should force Western officials, pay attention here, to rethink some of the underlying assumptions about Iran's missile threat and how far Tehran could reach if left unchallenged. While America has been defanging its missile program, an entirely new missile has been in essence revealed, and that is a game changer, said Behnam Ben Taleblu, a senior director of the Foundation for Defense of Democracy's Iran program. All right. So this is leading to the beast gonna hate the whore, man, because the fact that America's trying to drag Europe into this war, they ain't with it. And now, cause they like shit, nigga, you know, now you trying to get us blown up, and we ain't got nothing to do with this. This is not our war. So let's get it. Revelation chapter 17. Right, check this out. And we bring this out all the time, but for anybody that's new that's watching, all right, so you know what's going on. The doom of Babylon. Revelation 17 and verse 16. And the 10 horns. Okay, the 10 horns refer to NATO and the EU. Okay, the beast system is a conglomeration of mainly Edomite nations. Okay, Europe and America, Canada, Australia. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much so-called Caucasian countries. Okay, that's what the beast system is made up of. All right, the 10 horns are referring to the vassals of America. Okay, the so-called European nations, Western Asia, which thou sawest upon the beast. These shall hate the whore. The whore is America, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So the scripture here is saying that the 10 horns, that they're going to turn against the whore. Okay, you see? And shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. How is this going to happen? Well, they're going to shoot their missiles, their nukes, over to America. And they're going to destroy and burn this place up, because now Europe realizes that the common denominator between all the world's problems are the small hats and Babylon. Okay, so the Lord going to put his spirit on even America's vassals to turn against her and shoot missiles over to this place and burn it up with fire, man. That's how America's going to end, in thermonuclear fire and laser chariot fire. Why is this going to happen? Verse 17, for Yahweh hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will. All right, so nobody on this earth is doing their own will. Nobody just doing what they want to do. No. Okay, everybody that's on this earth now, they're doing the will of Yahweh Bashmel Shai, whether you be wicked or whether you be righteous. Okay, everybody's in their role. Everybody's in their proper lot. And to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of Yahweh Bashmel Shai shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth, which is America. Okay? Because you'll have people try to argue, well, America's not a city. You know what I'm saying? You know, which a city is comprised of what? Citizens. Okay? You have citizens of America, Babylon the Great. You know what I'm saying? But really, America, really functions, the government functions out of, one city, if you want to call it that, Washington, D.C. But really, it's the whole of America that it's referring to. Okay? Babylon. Okay, Babylon got the world reserve currency. You know what I'm saying? They enforce their military might upon all the nations. That's how they reign over the kings of the earth. Okay, that's America, man. No other nation has that kind of power and influence over the nations other than America. All right? So, you know what I'm saying? This is what's going on. Okay, Europe is now on notice that they're going to get their shit blown up too, man, if they continue to follow America. So you already know what's going to happen pursuing the prophecy. They're going to separate. All right? Let's see here. Yeah, check this out. Prepare for driving restrictions and 4-day working weeks as Iran crisis deepens, warns former BP executive. All right, so we're already seeing that there's an energy crisis overseas in many nations already, but it's coming to America. All right, so now you have a BP executive, which is, British Petroleum. All right, the gas station. They're warning that this crisis is going to deepen, and they're pretty much preparing for driving restrictions. Okay, which brothers have been going into, and 4-day working weeks. See, so everything is going to hell. All right. Says here, a former oil company executive says ministers should consider enforcing driving restrictions amid an impending fuel supply crisis. See, everything about to shut down. With no fuel, no energy, the cost to heat your home is going to be exorbitantly high. The cost to cool your home in the summer is going to be exorbitantly high. Okay, the cost to fly anywhere is going to be out of control because you know what I'm saying. The cost of fuel is about to be through the roof. Diesel's already high, man, which most of these commercial, you know what I'm saying, airliners, they use diesel. All right. So you can see, man, the privacy is once again screaming. Nick Butler, former BP head of strategy and a police policy advisor to ex-PM Gordon Brown, said limiting drivers to alternate days based on their vehicle's registration number would be one measure. And this is reminiscent of the CV19 lockdowns, which they trying to bring one of those back too. So you have all this stuff just compounding at the same time, man. And this is why people's mental health is very shot in this time, man, because people cannot deal with all of what's going on. All right, then when all the bread and circus and the mirth dries up, that's gonna make people want to off themselves because they can't deal with the reality. Another would be for employers to allow an extra day off for staff every week to reduce commuter traffic. See, so that's pretty much the point that these energy lockdowns they've been talking about. These things are coming down the pipe. All right. Egypt energy crisis. Okay, so not only Australia, the EU, okay, all over the earth, this Strait of Hormuz, and also the now the Suez Canal. This is messing everything up. Okay, the same thing will happen here in America. Check this out.
In a bid to conserve electricity, Egyptian authorities have imposed a 9 p.m. curfew for commercial establishments. These rules have been imposed nationwide to reduce the consumption of oil-generated electricity. Egypt's capital, Cairo, is known for its vibrant nightlife, but life has almost come to a standstill as shops, restaurants, and eateries are forced to abide by the new 9 p.m. curfew. The restrictions were imposed as energy prices and bills skyrocketed due to the U.S.-Israeli war in Iran.
See? So because of the U.S.-Israeli war in Iran, it's causing these nations to shut down. It's causing these shops to stop their business, close early, curfews. To what? To call themselves conserving energy. But we know what's really going on. Okay, we know that they want to shut down the world once again. And this time it's going to be in the name of energy conservation. Okay?
The curfew was announced by Egypt's Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, who has said that it will last for at least a month. The move is expected to negatively impact the country's tourism sector. Several traders and shopkeepers in Egypt are voicing their apprehensions about the commercial curfew.
This decision will affect my business, everything, employees, salaries. It's almost 8 p.m. now, and tourists are still arriving. How can you expect me to close at 9? Will the tourists be able to leave in just 1 hour? It's unreasonable. We need the closure extended by 1 or 2 hours at least.
The decision will affect all sectors in the country, whether it's jewelry, tourism, restaurants, or any other area. Everyone will be affected. Here, tourists only go out in the evening. In other countries, tourists don't go out at night, but in Egypt, they might stay out until morning.
While Egypt is not directly involved in the widening conflict in West Asia, it has been one of the countries heavily impacted by the war. This is because of the war's far-reaching impact on oil prices and the disruption to shipping routes. Egypt imports 28% of its petrol requirement and 45% of its diesel needs. Since January, Cairo's energy expenditure has doubled to about $2.5 billion, and much of this is a direct result of the U.S.-Israeli war in Iran.
Yeah, so that's the point. But what are we seeing? The beginning of sorrows, man. This is the judgment of Yahweh Bashman Shai upon the heathen, upon the wicked. They losing their businesses, they losing hope, they losing morale. Everything is going down the drain, man. Okay, this world is CTD. And it's all because of who? Babylon the Great and the small hats. Okay, they're at the forefront of this, okay, which is why the world is about to come against Esau, man, because, you know what I'm saying, these devils are messing everything up. But furthermore, it's really Yahweh Bashmil Shai messing everything up for these heathens, man. Okay? When you get, let's get it. Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter, right? Check this out. Like, look, all these things are prophesied, man. Remember Yahweh in your youth, right? Ecclesiastes 12:1. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. That's referring to the economists, you know, the stockbrokers, you know, those that watch the economy. All right. And the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders, the workers, cease, because they are few. Pursuing back to Isaiah 19, where it said there shall be no more work for Egypt, right? The same story is happening all around the earth. Because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. Yeah. People looking out and they seeing that things are not looking so good, man, that there's no hope, there's no future. Verse 4, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. He shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Okay? So this is the time that we're entering into, man. The doors shall be shut in the streets. Everything going to be shut down. You know what I'm saying? All the businesses are going to be closed up because energy not going to be available. People going to have to lay people off. Businesses going to have to shut down because the cost to operate is going to be out of control. Verse 5, and also when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fear shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fail, because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets. Okay? So this is what we see. You know what I'm saying? the Ishmaelite, you know, Ishmael out there like shit, you know, like, can y'all at least give us like another hour or two to operate? Like, you know, we can't make no money like this. But hey, this is all judgment from the Lord, man. Okay, because why? We're at the end of Esau's world, and this is what it looks like. Yeah, let's grab this as well. Okay, because electrical grid at increasing risk of blackouts due to surging demand. So we coming into the summer months where, you know, things are gonna, you know, because they already saying that this summer is going to be off the chain hot. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be one of the hottest summers on record. So with this, you know, fuel supply shortage and the grid, you know, they talking about the cyber attacks and all this type of stuff, man. Yo, these devils about to make it happen. Okay, to where, you know, not only is it going to be no fuel, it's not going to be no lights, and there going to be no power. And this is what they need to bring in, all right, to, you know, usher in this great reset, man. Okay, so the time to have your little fun, all right, it's almost up. You know, the Lord bringing the pain.
As Americans feel the shock of higher gas prices at the pump, there's another energy crisis brewing across the country, but the people who actually run the electrical grid issuing stark warnings. For 100 years, America's electrical system, mostly stable, with blackouts being the rare exception. But when they do happen, they can have exceptional consequences.
The situation here in Brownsville was described as anarchy, war, rioting.
Every source of power that the state of Texas has been compromised.
Now a new combination of the latest artificial intelligence data centers and aging power plants is creating a perfect storm, from the big city to the Great Plains.
It's becoming more of a challenge across the whole eastern part of the United States.
Rich Dewey oversees NISO, which runs the grid in New York.
Rich, you say the grid is at an inflection point. What does that mean?
Really, it's a confluence of a number of different factors. So we're on the cusp of really new technologies coming onto the grid, and it's really got us concerned about our ability to meet reliability for not.
And those new technologies he's talking about is this 6G, these data centers that they're building, because these data centers, they use up a lot of energy, they use up a lot of electricity, a lot of water, and that's why you'll see in these big cities a lot of people are complaining about higher energy costs because these data centers are being built, and they are using majority of the energy. You know what I'm saying? So but they need these data centers going into this NWO because that's how the AI is going to run off all this data. You know what I'm saying? That's how they want to run this new society. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to put that first over the people, man, and the people going to suffer.
Not only for New York City, but for the state as a whole.
Dewey says on a peak day, the demand is 32 to 33,000 megawatts. Now they have proposals for 13,000 more megawatts in demand for AI alone, a nearly 50% increase.
At a time of significant load growth, we're actually retiring more generation that we're building, and that gives us some concerns.
New York is connected to about half of the country through the Eastern Interconnection, and Dewey says everyone is talking about the problem.
What we're seeing is the story in New York is a very similar story across all the other regions.
Another grid operator called PJM handles power in 13 states and D.C. They say they've got the same problems. They're letting new data centers connect only if they bring their own power plants online too, or they have to agree to power down when the grid gets stressed. It's becoming a political hot topic, with protests against new data centers at town halls across the country. Starting to hit Americans' wallet, too, with average electricity prices across the country up about 5% in the last year, and more than 35% in the last 5 years. Florida's governor says he's for some new regulations on their construction and impact on the grid. And in California, some projections indicate a doubling of the state's demand in the next 10 years. For the companies that actually have to deliver the power, it's all they're talking about, too.
We know across the country we need to generate more power and we need to invest in infrastructure to move it. And that's what we're all focused on.
Sally Librera runs National Grid New York.
We are investing in the grid throughout the state. Upstate, we are making the largest investment that's ever been made in the grid. We're rebuilding 1,000 miles of transmission. We are investing heavily in substations. And the reason that we're doing that is because we want to grow the grid.
That includes the natural gas to fuel the plants, now the biggest fuel source for electricity across the country, surpassing coal about a decade ago. And despite the global conflict, natural gas prices have remained relatively low this year. For now.
There's a lot of interest in nuclear.
Yeah, for now. All right, but the longer that this war goes on, all right, because America has kind of been, other countries, are feeling it now because, they're more dependent on just straight oil moves. Of course, America produces oil domestically, and, we also get a lot of oil from Canada as well. So America is kind of, behind schedule when it comes to these price increases. But, the fact that these T attacks that happen on America's soil, they blowing up oil refineries, man, as they said, for now, it hasn't really shot up, beyond the point of no return, but it will very soon, right? So, yeah, man, this world is through. You know what I'm saying? And check this out as well, because I mentioned earlier that they trying to bring back another, demic. A new, highly mutated CV variant called cicada is spreading in the U.S. Know these symptoms. The heavily mutated new BA 3.2 CV19 variant cicada is circulating in at least 25 U.S. states, the CDC said. All right. And we know, Yahweh Shah spoke of pestilence, disease in the last days. Okay, we've seen all kind of disease go about now. You know what I'm saying? Like out there, the rodeo for spring break, they talking about how many people came down with HIV and AIDS and all kind of, venereal diseases and all type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? All that's going around too. As well as you have these lab-grown pathogens that are being released out here too, man. So you see what the Lord is doing? The Lord is man, call all y'all Bashmil Shah. The Lord is really creating hell on earth for these people, man. Okay, because this was heaven for the people of the world. Now it's turning into their hell, which is their judgment for their wickedness and their refusal to repent and listen to the prophets, man. See, now this is what's going to befall you. You know what I'm saying? So we ain't really got to tap into the article like that, but you see the headline, that's it right there. I mean, time is flying. We already an hour and 9 minutes in. I feel like I only been sitting here for half an hour, man. We you know what I'm saying, we an hour in. So, hey, as the Lord said that He would shorten the days for the sake of the elect. Time is moving. All right. We already at the end of March, about to go into April. You know what I'm saying? Going over, man. Like, stuff is moving super quick. All right, we can get this last one and close out. No Kings protests held across the U.S. Yeah, no Kings protests held across the U.S. All right. And this shows you that this man is at the end of the road, Esau. All right, because one of the tell signs that his kingdom is at an end in the last days would be that it would be partly strong and partly broken, pursuing the Daniel the second chapter. Yeah. So Esau's kingdom is divided. You're seeing all kind of uproars of other people. Nobody trusts the government no more. So we on the pipe, these food shortages, these job losses, the grid about to collapse, the stock market's about to collapse, everything about to go. This is why you about to see civil unrest, Mad Max level, you know what I'm saying, in America, Babylon the Great, and also all around the world, because the same thing is going to happen worldwide as well. All right, so let's check this.
As we come on the air this morning, millions of Americans are taking to the streets across the United States in a day of nationwide protest against Donald Trump. Washington correspondent Lauren Tomasi is at one of the thousands of rallies taking place. Lauren, good morning to you. So this is the third round of the No Kings protests.
Jack, the third round and the largest this morning. There are 3,000 plus rallies happening right across the United States, coast to coast, and there are millions of people who are turning out here. We're in Washington, D.C. on the National Mall. This is right in front of the Capitol building. People here right now are listening to some keynote speakers who have been talking, including one of the Capitol police officers who was there protecting the Capitol on January 6th. This is all falling under the No Kings banner, and I've been watching people's signs and talking to people about what it is exactly that they're protesting about, and there is a huge variety of issues. It all comes down to what they say is Donald Trump's over really authoritarian overreach, and some of these signs say things from release the Epstein files to cracking down on ICE, a really huge variety of things, and I've been chatting to people as they marched through Washington, D.C.
Before I die, I want to see our country great again, and it's not going to be great again under Trump.
So many things that have been so shocking and upsetting in the last year and a half or so. I mean, since Trump took office again, I'm just appalled.
Certainly, these have been very peaceful. People are very calm and listening to these speakers. The largest of these rallies, New York has been a huge turnout, so too Chicago, and Minneapolis is one of the flagship events here. That is where there has been a big crackdown on immigration, a lot of protests against ICE officers.
Yeah, it's over, man. Okay? MAGA done turned on this nigga. You know what I'm saying? Nobody believes in this regime anymore, man. Okay, that's why they calling for this dude to get put out, but it's not gonna happen. All right, or even if they do put him out, that's not gonna heal America. Okay, because there's nothing that can bring this place back to what it once was. You know what I'm saying? Hey, look, we're in the 250th year of Babylon the Great being a nation, and Elder Apostle Tahar brought it out that on average, nations, empires usually last about on a 250-year average. So we're here. Okay, 1776 to 2026, man. 250. So it is time for this place to go down. It's time for us to get the hell up out of here, man. Because as we tell our people, there's nothing you should be looking forward to here in Babylon the Great, man. This place is over. You know what I'm saying? Esau can see it. Everybody can see it, man. MAGA done turned on Trump. What more do you need to see? Okay. Jeremiah 51. Let's get this. Babylon judged for sins against Israel. Okay. America is being judged for what they've done to the Lord's chosen people, man. And it's well deserved. Okay. Jeremiah 51. And 7, Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so, she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. See? So this place cannot be healed, man, and that's why people are leaving. All right? We've been bringing it out, man. People have been leaving America in record numbers because they see this place can't be healed. This place is under judgment. You know what I'm saying? Her judgment is lifted up even to the skies. All right? And let's get 2nd Esdras 9 and close out here. Okay? Because this is, you know, so all these protests and things, I mean, you know, this is pretty mild right now, but it's going to get a lot worse. You know, the worse that things get. In 2nd Esdras 9 and 1, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, the prophecies, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made, which is now. The world, you know, the Lord is visiting the earth, man, through these judgments, through these calamities. All right? Verse 3, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes, seen a lot of those, and uproars, okay, protests, seditions, right, of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. All right? So, hey, this is what it is, man. All right? So you're going to continue to see, you know, these seditions, you know, against the government turn up more because the government ain't doing nothing for the people. All right? 2nd Esdras 15 and 14, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another. Okay, civil war echoes the same thing in Isaiah the 19th chapter, Egyptian against Egyptian, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, the higher officials of the society. Okay, the president, the governor, the mayor, the senator. Okay. Even the police, okay, they're not going to regard none of these people. But what they going to do? In the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So people going to do what they want to do. Okay, when there's no more food, no more power, no more jobs, no more bread and circus, people going to do what they want to do, man. They ain't going to give a damn about no laws and, you know, following no ordinance, man. You know what I'm saying? People going to say, yo, to hell with that. All right, I'm out to get mine anyway. I got to get it. All right. And I'm going to die trying. Okay. That's going to be the spirit out here. And that's why it's going to be so perilous of a time. The scriptures speak about Daniel 12:1, a time like never before, Jeremiah 30:7, Jacob trouble. All these prophecies are coming to pass in real time, man. All right. So if you Israelites, you so-called, you know, Negro, Latino, Native Americans, man, hey, yeah, you should be seeking the Lord in this time with all your diligence if you know what's good for you. All right. Because what's coming down the pipe, you know, as we showed you in this news and prophecy, man, it ain't nothing nice. All right, only the protection of the Lord will get you through what's coming. All right, so yeah, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and close out, Lord willing. This lesson has been edifying through the Rakah Kadash. Call Allah Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai Bahashem Rakah Kadash. And until next time, Lord willing, Shalom to the elect. Kwam Yasha Allah, Wa Bible Ball. On to the next one. Shalom.